Hey everybody, and welcome to Film Freaks 2020. This is season 2. This is your old pal, the Moo Cow, known as Paul A. Presenza, and we're also with
Jonathan A. Moody.
And we have a very special guest joining us tonight, and it is
Leila Toba.
Hey.
And we thought we would kick off this season episode with a movie from Christopher Guest called Waiting for Guffman.
Waiting for Guffman.
Waiting for Guffman.
We're still waiting.
He's still waiting, and I blew my lines just like in the movie. So it's appropriate that we chose a comedy because this is a comedy of errors.
Yeah, this is a crazy.
So
episode
there you go. So we decided to show this, and you hadn't seen this, Leila, right?
I've never seen this movie.
So and you hadn't seen it in quite a long time.
It's
right?
been a while, yeah.
Okay, and I watch it, maybe every couple of 3 or 4 months, just because it's just one of my favorites, and I love Christopher Guest anyway. People remember him from movies like Spinal Tap and A Mighty Wind and Best in Show, Princess Bride. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Just a very, very interesting and fun person who makes these great movies, and we just decided we had to do it. So my question is to both of you is, what did you guys think?
You go first, Lila.
Thank you. Well, as a community theater person, a lot of my friends for a while have been talking about Waiting for Guffman. We'd all been in community theater, and everybody had all the inside jokes, and every time there was a show, you'd see a status on Facebook or you see something, and it would say, "It's the day of the show, y'all!"
Day of the show.
And so even I started saying it for a while, and I had no idea where it was coming from. So this is one that I've been coerced to watch for about 5 years, and that dream finally came true tonight.
Okay.
Well, when you heard them say it's the day of the show, then you knew right then, or did
I
you
didn't
know
have a
before?
clue. I never knew.
Okay.
I just started saying it, and everyone assumed that I had seen it, and that I was in on this joke, but I really wasn't.
Okay.
And it just became part of the regular lexicon of the Louisville community theater scene.
Okay.
Everyone would always post on their Facebook, "It's the day of the show, y'all." So it's just really funny to be able to finally put a phrase with the face, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Jonathan? I know you hadn't seen it in a while, but
Right. No, I loved it. I mean, I don't think I loved it as much before, but I don't know. I guess I grew to appreciate it a little bit more. Especially as an actor, you look at this stuff, and I've done plays and everything, and I just I've never done anything like this, but this is in its own little world. But I did do theater. I did a thing called Backstage, where I was the backstage productions, where I basically did a few I don't even know which one I did. It's been a while. Anyway, I did a couple plays out there, and was not great or anything, but I had a fun time. So it kind of reminded me a little of that.
Yeah, it's really sweet because you're reminded of the camaraderie of being foxholed in a production that's not going so well or doesn't have so much money, and sometimes having the limited resource to do that, but seeing the friendship and the bonds that are developed over that process, and that's really endearing.
I was going to ask you, because I know you have a fairly extensive theater background, is how much of this is accurate that or you've seen or experienced or heard people talk about or
Well, I think that it's obviously a magnified version of reality, in the scope of what community theater is. But you definitely have, your kind of stereotypical personalities at play. You've got your very flamboyant and very vivacious director who's got visions of Broadway and Hollywood and, all of that kind of excitement. And then you've got your stars and your darlings. And then you've got the people who are kind of just I wandered in off the street. And I was the one who wandered off the street. Nice. I was that person.
So you were Dr. Pearl.
Well, in so many ways, yes. I think there's a Dr. Pearl in all of us. But, yeah. I mean, for me, I wandered in off the street, and I was that person.
Did you sing Bobby Medikishka?
No, not that time, no. That was for my third audition.
Outstanding. Please bring out those tapes. We want to see this. Outstanding. So, yeah, I mean, I did some theater when I was a kid because I didn't know any better. And I didn't know any better. I thought it might be fun. I had no idea it was terrifying. And it just kind of reminds me of that back then, and you're sort of doing the best you can, but it's like a big giant deal to you when you're in the show, even though it's a small thing and it doesn't really matter. But it does. It matters to the audience.
Absolutely. I mean, I've worked in so many small, dusty theaters in Louisville that, other people might, sneeze at. But for me, it was Broadway. You know, I took all my hopes and my dreams there, and I played it as if I were on that stage. And, there's just so much magic that is developed in that space.
Yeah, I think, one of the first productions I ever did, I played a deer in a kid play, They basically took every kid and then kind of took the size of the kid. And I was the smallest, so I was the deer or whatever. But then there was my friend Claire was the big bear, and things like that. And, because he was the bigger kid or whatever. So it was just really funny that was probably what it would look like, because you're a little child, you don't know what you're doing. Kind of like this, where they're adults though, that just don't know what they're doing.
I don't know. If you want my honest opinion, watching Waiting for Guffman, I'm their sets, their costumes, even their music is on fleek.
Sure.
I mean, compared to some of the stuff I've done,
right.
Yeah. But I mean, the sense of imagination, camaraderie, and just the spirit.
But what about some of the stuff that they were doing and to sort of rehearse or prepare, some of the acting exercises and some of the other things that they're talking about? I mean, that's definitely some comedic stuff there and some magnification and some weirdness.
There's definitely some time where you are watching people rehearse with the music and the choreography, and you're like, are we ever going to have a show? Because this is terrifying. There's no way we can show this to real people.
And it's funny because the music teacher sees this. He's like,
right.
We really need to fix all this.
I've definitely seen that conversation go down between the music director and director before.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Where you're we gotta, oh my God, this is awful.
Oh my
But
goodness.
but we also refer to it as theater magic. When it all somehow comes together and works out in the end. It looks like a big whole total mess. Even up until the dress rehearsal. And it's even a popular saying in theater that if you have a really terrible dress rehearsal, you're going to have a wonderful opening night.
Okay.
But you can't get lazy if you have a great opening night. Otherwise, your second night's going to suck. So it's there's always some little caveat somewhere in there. But
That's
it's
neat.
Theater magic is what we refer to it as when we would be in the dregs of rehearsal and we'd be this looks awful. There's no way. We should almost cancel this show. But then you have your opening night and it goes up. And
I got to do. I got to be production stage manager for a production of Gypsy Rose Late, and so I got to do things like run the lights and set all the cues and give everybody help with the stage directions and everything. And, part of that involves memorizing stuff. You got to memorize the whole show so that you know what to do and when to do it. And, of course, I'm terrible at memorizing. So there was always some stupid little goof that I would do. I'd turn the light off too quickly while somebody was just finished and it should have stayed. Or, I did something else. And it just kind of brought me back to that. I'm I remember screwing up on stage, every night, something. Because there's always something that you ruin. Or you screw up, and then they're like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," but to you, it's
that's kind of the problem.
Oh my God!
Well, that's not the problem, but that's kind of the reality with live theaters.
Right.
And if the moments happen, we now live in a world as it happened.
Yeah,
as a friend of mine used to say.
It's not like film where you can cut,
right,
or whatever. Right. Do a second take. What's there is there, and that I think all film actors should go do some theater at least to kind of see what that's like
What's
a little bit.
Stake?
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
And that's what I liked about Waiting for Guffman too, is that there was no real mistakes, you ever see. It was on fire when it was good, that's why at the end you're like, oh man, he's gonna.
I know, it's such a shame.
You're like, oh man, they're gonna meet the guy and they're gonna go to Broadway, and that guy's so nice, and he's like,
yeah, he's great. He loved it.
He loved it.
So anticlimactic.
But that's really, I like how they filmed that though in terms of the narrative, because when it started, you've got the actors overacting the lines, when they stop and they offer their dialogue, and so you're kind of thinking, oh my God, is this gonna be shit? And then they actually follow through. They don't mess up any of their choreo, at least that we can tell as the audience.
Yeah.
And the show's a hit. The entire town loves it. They feel really good about it.
Right.
And they get to celebrate that moment, even when they don't,
At the same time, there's humor, too, because the songs are silly, the costumes are silly, some of the dialogue is just silly.
But they commit.
But exactly, they commit and they hit it. The other thing I loved about it, excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice, is the fact that Corky, and I guess we'll start talking about the characters, but Corky St. Clair, who is the director, the creative genius behind the thing, and played by Christopher Guest, he has to go out and draft a lot of people into this. I mean, he has the auditions and has some people, but he has to go out and physically get people in certain roles. That's basically what happened with me. I never was a production stage manager before, ever. And I had a friend there, and he's like, I don't have anybody else. There's no one else. If you don't do this, the show's not going to happen. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, fine, I'll show you what to do. And I got drafted into this.
That's a very real thing in community theater, though, having to pull people in last minute. I've done several shows where directors have had to step in roles because we lost the actor for some reason or another.
And that's exactly what happens in here.
From the show.
You know, he drags in the older guy. It was, I forget the name of the actor. And then, of course, he has to get the young, hot actor guy that he wants because he's got his little crush on him. And at the last minute, just before the night of the show, he's out and he has to play it himself. I'm sure that probably has happened once or twice.
Yes, actually, I've worked with a director where that has happened.
Wow.
And it's a hell of a challenge, but to see it all come together with the theater magic, and it does, and it has. Thank the Lord, up until this point, it can be quite a spin.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. And then, the fact that it's also a musical adds another layer of it too, because if it's just a drama, that's one thing, but then you have to get all the songs down, you have to get all the choreography down, you have to get all the costumes down. It's just a lot. And even a modest dinner theater production, there's actually a lot of work that goes into that. So if you've never been to one, you should really check one out. And if you have, it's just amazing what some of these people go through. And maybe they're not out in Hollywood being big stars, but that doesn't really matter. They're putting on a really, really great show for you guys, and they're doing a lot of work in order to do it.
Absolutely. I worked at a company in Clarksville called Derby Dinner Theater, which was on really wonderful productions. And a lot of the times you have people who are serving tables up until the moment that the show starts. And then they start the show, and even during like the intermissions, they'll go and they'll serve dessert and things like that. And so they're really committed actors who really love their craft. And they spend every single day in rehearsals. And then they come to the tables and they actually serve dinner and cocktails and things like that. And then they get up and perform.
I auditioned.
It's really beautiful.
I auditioned for a dinner theater thing that we had in Williamsburg. I didn't get the part, but it was a fun audition.
Sure.
Just going out there and trying for it. I didn't get the part because they pretty much already had cast it, for the role that I was going for, but because they were getting people who already did this, and that was the first time,
And I work with the Dinner Detective franchise as an actor, which is really fun because it's mostly improv. So you have to walk up to people and lie to them and pretend to be part of the party in some cases, or you play a detective, or you do this or that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into that.
That's kind of where I got to see a lot of that stuff back home when I was living in Delaware and Wilmington. They do a lot of mystery dinner theater.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a whodunit wrapped in a show, and then the audience participates, and they get to try and guess who did it, and the people leave clues, and it's a lot of fun. And it's people can scoff at dinner theater, but the fact is, it's a lot of work, and it's just a wonderful thing for communities to have, because not everybody can have a big stage or big Broadway anywhere doing sort of the latest shows. You need to have an outlet for the small theater too, the small intimate
creativity theater. And the arts just in general. And I think that's really the bigger message.
I love how in Waiting for Guffman, Corky was so excited thinking that they were going to go to Broadway.
We're going to Broadway.
This is the show that's going to bring us to Broadway. I mean, it's not a bad show and the songs aren't horrible, but no.
Never going to happen.
This is not even off Broadway.
It's not even so much about the performances, even than just the interest, because I'm not sure that the entire country cares about the history of the town called Blaine.
Exactly.
True.
I mean, the show is called Red, White, and Blaine, obviously, and it is the precipice of the big celebration of the 150-year mark.
Although it is
Blaine.
the site of the
I
stool
don't really
boom.
know that anyone cares at all about that enough for that to be on Broadway,
and that's
even if it was
the funny
an
part is that
production.
It's a little tiny play about a little tiny place in the middle of nowhere that nobody knows about.
But there were alien abductions.
That's true.
I want to see that.
And probing. Lots of probing.
I thought it was I thought it was they had invited them up for like potluck. Right?
They did. That's right.
You know,
They
like,
did.
there was no
One guy returned
probing. There was like
completely
potluck. What the heck?
Hey, you can get a little probing while you get your potluck. I mean,
Get a probing potluck. I mean,
There you
why
go.
can't we do both?
seriously, we're adults now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So Corky's sort of the main character, and he's trying to sort of utilize this opportunity to get back to Broadway, because he talks about how he was in the Navy, he got out, he had nothing else to do, so he went to New York off Broadway and was just, you know, laughed off the stage for 10 years, and he finally had enough, and he went away and came to Blaine, where he got his second chance, and he was going to ride that chance back to Broadway. And so that's kind of the germ of the whole plot. So that's Corky St. Clair, and then we've got Parker Posey. Poor Parker Posey plays this girl who's basically
Linda May Brown.
Yeah.
who works at the Dairy Queen, and this is like, this has been like all she's ever done, and probably all she's ever going to do. But this is her moment to shine. So she gives this really good audition, singing "Teacher's Pet," which was hysterical. And
what was that song? Like, was that like from something or?
I think so. I couldn't tell you. I'm a musical theater, and I are not.
I don't think it was musical theater. I think it was like supposed to be like a real song or something.
Could very well have been.
I don't know.
That was lost on me.
Yeah, you didn't know that song?
No.
Okay.
But she did a really good job, and so she gets in there, and you know, there's a lot. I mean, she's one of the characters that really gets hit hard at the end when it turns out it's not really Guffman. But
like 3 years later, she's still
right.
working at the Dairy Queen, but
This-
she's in a
this-
different state.
you know, she has nowhere to go but up, because she's already at the bottom. So this show is like a big deal to her. And then you've got Dr. Perlman, who is the local dentist, who
Dr. Pearl.
Dr. Pearl, right? And I guess he comes from an acting, or his family has an acting background.
In Yiddish theater. Yeah.
Yiddish theater, right? And he decides he wants to audition, and he oh my goodness, he sings this medley of songs, and it's just so funny. And
At first, he was horrible.
he
It
was.
was nerves. He was kind of nervous. And when he got his groove. He was actually pretty good. But
You were even saying that, I think, because you said
Yeah.
something like you were watching it going, he's actually not that bad. And then they were going, oh my God, he's great, you know? And I was like, that's fantastic.
And it's funny because, you know, even though, Guffman doesn't come to the show, they don't go to Broadway, he uses that as a launching pad for him to follow his true dream, which, instead of being a dentist, is to entertain people. He's like, I have to entertain people. So he
it's
ends
like a
up...
lounge performer
Right.
for a nursing home.
Oh, for a nursing home in Florida.
But
It
you know,
was a
it's
sin.
actually so wonderful, though. I mean, I know you all are scoffing and you're like, oh, well, that sucks, poor him. But, like, I'm looking at it and I'm just like, he's happy.
No,
He's
having
happy.
a great time. They're having a great time. Like, that's what
But
it's
the
all
old
about.
folks are just sitting there
you know?
like, It was funny.
No, but it was cute at the end.
It was cute.
It was
Bittersweet, but cute.
No, I don't even think it was bittersweet. He didn't go Broadway, but he didn't want to go Broadway. Like, that wasn't his.
Right.
You
It was the
said,
love of the craft.
it was just he just wanted to entertain people. Just wanted to do whatever he could do, and he actually went out and did it in Miami, Florida. So
And Miami is dope, for the record.
There you go.
I love Miami. So.
Everybody in this movie, in the beginning of the movie, are pretty much talking about how they've never left the town.
Right.
By the end of it, everybody's left.
Right.
You
And
know?
that's the next one, the two travel agents.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't remember. It's Catherine O'Hara and Fred Willard. I don't remember their characters,
Yeah.
but clearly they're the
Ron
veterans.
Albertson and...
They're the veterans who've been in local
Mrs.
theater
Rona.
before.
Yeah, Mrs. Roanoke.
And so they come there with like all their little acting exercises, and he's kind of a controlling freak, I guess. He's always got multiple pages of notes for her.
And she does that thing in community theater to him during the audition, which like people will tell you is the thing that they hate the most when they're on stage with someone and they're mouthing your lines at you. Like, you've forgotten your lines when you haven't. And some people just do it like as a compulsion, and the fact that she did that during the audition was such a hilarious throwback for me.
Right.
Because I was like, oh my God, that's like what all actors almost describe as like the most terrible thing that can happen to them when they're on
that's
stage. Is
probably-
somebody mouthing their own lines at them, and you're like,
She had a lot of great sort of in jokes too, I think, for actors too, where she's like, I wouldn't want to try that less is more thing where you don't really do any acting.
Oh, that was a nice bit.
That was hysterical.
It's like when you close your eyes when you're talking to them, and then you look away and they're talking to you, and you close your eyes and they're
I wanted to ask, do you do that?
Absolutely not. I don't have a clue what she's talking about, but it was an interesting
First time I saw that, I thought I would burst myself laughing. I thought it was the funniest thing.
And she did it like 9 times.
Great.
She was so committed.
She did all make Heather O'Hara.
But I mean, that is the ultimate point, isn't it? I mean, that is the cast bringing it all home. You've got Catherine O'Hara, you've got Eugene Levy, you've got
Fred Willard. Oh my god.
Fred Willard.
Right.
I mean, you got Parker Posey,
right?
Like Christopher Guest.
All
I mean,
of them
there's
doing...
no one in the bunch that's
they all
Every
hit a
tiny
home run.
element of the movie is just
right. Bob Balaban does the musical director. They have their little internal strife there because at one point Corky's demanding $100,000 from the local government to get this play made, and they're like, what is wrong with you? We have $15,000 in the budget for everything.
Was that Larry Miller? Or
No, Larry Miller was the mayor, right?
I think so, yeah.
And I just love that.
Did he say, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah.
He just looked at him, what's wrong with you?
No, at first he's laughing at him because he thinks he's joking.
Right,
and then they're like,
right.
He's not joking.
He's not joking.
And he looks over and goes, what is wrong with you? It's just like...
So he quits. The Corky quits, and now everything's back to Bob Balaban's character, who's not a bad guy. He's just doesn't have the flair or the vision.
Director,
right,
you know? He's good at the musical
He's good at the
director.
music part, but the rest is like
Love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
So of course the
like
cast
playing straight, I
the,
think.
the cast revolts, and they immediately run to Corky, and they're like, "We love you, Corky. Please don't die." And poor Corky's
we want
just
you to live.
He's in his tub with his bubble bath. And
he does have the radio right next to it. Did worry me a little bit, you know. Like it could have.
And he's got this look on his face like, oh, what am I gonna do?
But didn't you say something like that was you? You know? Just
yeah, everyone knows that I love to soak in the tub. That's nice. I do.
But no, and the fact that they got him back out and everything, and convinced him to come back. The way they did it was the towns, the council people, and everything came to him and they said, like, when you first started here, you had nothing. You didn't have $100,000 like you want. You had nothing, and you did a great job. Do that.
Right.
Oh my God.
It was so inspiring to me.
And absolutely. And you know what's even crazier about it for me, on a personal note, is that the first show that he did when he started his theater company was Barefoot in the Park.
Yeah.
And that was the very first show that we did with the Tilted Crown.
Nice.
The very first show that I produced, like, with my own company. And so that, like, really, like, it went right in my soul.
Oh,
and I was
nice.
like, Neil Simon is difficult work as well. So it's really saying something.
And I was going to ask you, because, we've talked about this from an actor's point of view, how about it from a producer's point of view? And
from a producer's point of view, if someone came up to me and asked me for $100,000 to put on a production, I'd probably pass out. I might pack all my bags, go to the opposite coast, and try to get a plane, because that would never happen.
Oh, okay, now I'm wondering, like, what was he going to use $100,000 for?
I can only imagine.
I mean, that's in the
Live
sequel.
cows?
That's waiting for Guffman also.
I wish they had given him that.
Right.
Just to see
I know. I kind of held
for a
my
one-night
breath for
production?
a minute there. I held my breath for like a second, like, all these people do seem to be kind of rich and entitled. Is it possible are they going to do it?
Are they going to do it? No. They didn't even have enough money for, like, the swimming pool or something, like, or just enough for it.
Yeah.
And he was like, he didn't understand that. He thought they were saying that they were going to be swimming in the play or whatever. I thought that was hilarious. But it was cute,
It really, really was. It was amazing.
It's a cute movie.
I'm sorry.
But anyways, before Paul dies and can't we want you to live, Paul.
Yes.
We want you to live. You might have to go
live.
soak in the tub.
I hate your ass
I've got
faces.
some bubbles in there. We got this.
That's so funny.
But I really loved it, and it was a tremendous honor to be able to share it with you all and to see it for the first time after so many people have been
that's good.
telling me to watch it for years.
Well, what I love about it is that the humor is very subtle, and it's sweet, and it's fun. And it's not like one of those, in your face, ha ha ha, hit you over the head, dumb kind of comedies. It's smart, it's clever, it's endearing.
That's absolutely
It's genuine, and I really, really loved it. And it's just a lot of fun.
I think a lot of that has to do with the improv and those people.
Right.
The Second City people that all
that know how to do it.
Right.
And they all work together. They all know each other.
Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy, those guys have been doing Second City TV for years. They're masters of that sort of thing.
And just what a brilliant troupe. When they're together, there's all kinds of magic just flying in every direction. There's just not a single moment that's boring.
They went off and did like Best in Show, which I absolutely adore.
I know, that's a great one.
I can't stop watching that movie.
Or even Schitt's Creek, which is really popular now.
I've actually never seen that.
Which
I hear
Eugene
it's really
Levy's
good.
son is in.
Yeah, and Eugene Levy is in it too, I think. And I think Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah,
all
I've
of them
watched quite a lot
up.
of it. I really like it.
I haven't watched it yet,
I haven't either.
But
I'd
I know
like to.
of it, and I would like to watch it at some point, so I probably will. But no, I agree. Like those guys, because they're improv and because how much they are friends with each other. I mean, just made that movie like.
And amazing thing is I cannot stand musical theater. I really don't, because usually the songs are so hokey and
There's
terrible.
always one in every group.
I know.
This one was wonderful. The songs were fabulous. And I'm not sure it's because they're taking the piss on musical theater and they're just making silly songs to begin with, or whatever, but I thought the music was great. I thought the songs were
Actually,
great.
the composition of the music was pretty solid.
Fabulous, right.
All things considered. But I think that a lot of the lyrics and like the camp from it really just comes from a knowing wink, and I think that's very charming.
I mean, this is probably going to be the only musical that you'll ever hear people singing about stools.
Exactly. The stool song is one of my favorite things.
I mean, chairs are for fools.
Yeah, they are.
Stool boom. I'm like, oh my god, really?
Yep.
And then the Nothing Ever Happens on Mars, which was adorable. It was just so funny.
What was your guys' favorite line? Wasn't it like something about Mars? I've heard
of Mars.
I've heard of Mars.
Yes. It was like, I've heard of Mars. It was delivered with such, genuine conviction. It's like, oh, Lord.
Oh, my goodness.
It's adorable. It's just a wonderful, wonderful movie, and everybody really should go out and check it out. And
if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you're watching our video.
Right. Well, I mean, Film Freaks is about movies that we love, and this was definitely one that I love, and I couldn't wait to show it to Leila because she hadn't seen it. And I knew you had, but it had been a while, so...
She got really excited.
I know,
because
she did.
You were showing her a bunch of things, and you said this movie, and then you showed Waiting for Guffman, and she was like, oh my god, yes, that's it.
Yeah, that was great.
Like, we knew it was it.
It's long overdue, but now we have returned the book back to the library.
Exactly.
Right. And then at the end, I love the fact that not only is Corky back in New York getting to do his dramatic stuff, he opens up his little shop, and he's selling things like the remains of the day lunch boxes, and oh my god, these really weird things. Michael Anthony Hall dolls.
Oh my god.
Did he say he actually got to audition for Broadway? Because he met Guffman and everything. Did he ever say he got it? I didn't
he
hear
just
that
said that he was offered
an audition. Right, offered an audition.
So he never said if he got it or not.
Said for sure.
I'm guessing not, because then he was just selling all these random things in a weird freaking...
He was living his best life.
My Dinner with Andre action figures? Come on. That's just...
I thought that was really cute, because wasn't Wallace Shawn in
that?
Yes. And Wallace Shawn was also in Princess Bride with Christopher Guest, and I thought... Wow, that's really cute. Like that they did that. Like
that's
almost
nice little Easter egg there.
Even if it's not an homage, like to me that is, And
it's funny. It's like you could just make up your own dialect. Like, oh, nice restaurant. Oh, thank you. Oh, did you have to call someone? Well, yeah. You can always get a restaurant. It's like, really? People do that all the time.
To get a nice restaurant.
It was so funny. But yeah, it was great. I really, really enjoyed the film, and I love sharing it with people who haven't seen it. So this was kind of a fun night for me.
Absolutely.
Despite the fact that I'm losing my voice.
Thanks for having me once again, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be back for more shows.
Hopefully, my voice will be back too at some point.
Yeah, it's been a crazy time so far for the second season of all these shows that we're doing, and we're bringing back and
sunny LA.
Right. I mean, it's just like in community theater where things can go wrong. On Film Freaks tonight, we had a few things go wrong, but you know what? The show goes on.
The show must go on.
The show must go on.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Leila. And we just want to mention that she was also on the second episode of Indie Film Cafe that we did recently, and you're also, I guess, going to be back for more other ones that we do.
Yeah,
and you did you helped us with the haul video, so you're gonna we're gonna
classing
keep
up the
using...
joint here. My
I know.
goodness.
Fucking crazy.
Absolutely. You know, we're stepping up our production.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you, and thank you, Paul, for picking
Absolutely.
this movie. because
And
it
Film
was
Freaks
awesome.
next month is going to be your choice. So it'll be interesting to
Ooh.
see what that is.
We'll see. I had a feeling of one, and I think I may change it. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe he'll just like start naming off movies and wait for me to squeal and freak out, and then choose one like you all did tonight.
There
That'd
you
be a
go.
good idea.
So when are we gonna all do one of those numbers from the show? We have to.
Oh,
We have to do the stool song.
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that. We need to rehearse.
I know.
Well, they didn't, so I mean, come on.
I think they did.
Magic.
Well, you hate musicals, you hate
I
learning
do.
lines.
It's not that I hate learning lines. I'm just bad at it. Very, very, very bad at it.
Well, that's why you rehearse.
That's
True.
why you keep doing it.
That's why we rehearse.
That's why you
Okay.
practice. Practice,
Gotcha.
practice makes perfect. Yeah. So. Practice.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So thank you guys
All right.
for checking this out, and yeah, check us out next month. We'll also have another Criterion Watch coming up soon, and we'll have plenty of other things going
Yep.
on. So check them out and have a good one.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.